First, we have to obviously talk about Mike Elko this week. Two big things happened. I mean, one, it happened today, and having to do with the fine for the feigned injury that occurred during the game with cornerback Tyler Chappelle. We'll get into that first. But on Monday, Mike Elko was asked, we talked about it briefly, I believe, on here maybe a couple weeks ago, was asked about the Penn State head coaching rumor, the connection that guys like Bruce Feldman and other national columnists for college football have discussed. Basically, just the only connection they really have is that he's from the East Coast. He's a New Jersey native. He played college football at University of Pennsylvania. No, not Penn State. That's an Ivy League. So, no connection there except for the fact that it's both in Pennsylvania. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with East Coast recruiting, which he had to do during his time at Duke as well. Trying to get that entire landscape in North Carolina, which obviously connects up there. So, he was asked about it by, I believe, like we said pre-show, it was Alex Miller, of the Eagle.
I think just a national reporter asked him if he's heard his name brought up in all the coaching carousel rumors that comes up. And if this reporter had not asked, I think a lot of the other media members had that kind of in the back pocket, right? Yeah. It kind of felt that way because at this time of year, the people and the coaches who are getting their names called around or doing well are going to get their names called up for jobs like this.
Yeah.
So I think the exact question was, had he heard his name come up in rumors, and does he ever give that any thought, or does he ever discuss that with his players? And he basically, what he said was, it's laughable to even entertain that, or at least bring it into discussing with his players. That it's a waste of headspace is what he called it. So yeah. A lot of fans are going to say, well, that's not a no. I don't think I've ever seen a head coach straight up say no.
Yeah. Well, there have been, and I think, well, just to cut you off a little bit, there have been situations where, and that's why I think it's kind of deeply inserted in a way of, well, I've heard X, Y, and Z over the past 10 years say, I'm happy here. I love my job. Not saying no directly, but basically, and he was in that same circle during his time at Duke, I think it was a month or two before he took the job at A&M. And we saw a couple of people we highly respect in the national media use that as an example. But I will say that was a way different situation. This was going from Duke to Texas A&M, which he knew that was a dream job of Elko's, serving as the Aggies defensive coordinator for 4 seasons, being the primary recruiter for this program, really building it to where it's become now. And I'm going to be honest, like Manny Diaz, who's the current head coach at Duke, he had his chances at bigger schools. He didn't do as well. He ended up taking the Duke job because, yes, it's a head coaching job in a major Power 4 conference, but at the same time, it's one of those, I would call it stepping stone type of position. But if you can thrive there, that's great, right? And I believe that Elko, if he was not offered the A&M job, would probably still be at Duke or potentially at another school. But so he was right then. Like, he did like living in North Carolina, great for raising his family and all that. But it's a completely different situation when you're going from there to an SEC program, especially one that you have a background with.
Yeah, and especially a program now that when you came in, you knew what the pieces were that you were dealing with and how to get it from point A to point B, which he has growing now and is gradually getting there. Not only is like our fans around the Aggie land kind of taking that into account, but national media as well. They realize now how big of a sleeping giant A&M was. They just needed the right person to man the helm. We see that as Mike Elko now, right?
Yeah.
So now this job, we see it as a better job internally than Penn State as of currently constructed right now, especially with the roster and the momentum that he has. So that's the whole discourse that's going around right now. Obviously, the response that Mike Elko gave, it was really a Mike Elko response, right? He has always talked in this way around, he's going to make his mind known, but also in a way that's not too highly disrespectful to people. But he wants to make sure that, A, It's laughable to have to think about this when your team is 7-0 going into Death Valley, like Baton Rouge, a extremely tough place to play. And why would he bring that into his players' headspace that, oh, my name is being talked about right now? Right.
Yeah. And I also know from a recruiting standpoint, I see guys like Brandon Arrington. I see others who are committed to this class who have shut down their recruitment in the 2026 cycle, just so excited about their future playing under Elko. Recruits are smart. They hear everything. If they had an inkling that Mike Elko was thinking of stepping out and going for another job, they might be the first to know. I'm going to be honest. I've seen that in the past. I've seen some of the recruiting observations and responses from, current Auburn recruits watching them lose the other night, Florida State, guys like that. These are smart kids that kind of know the way the wind blows when it comes to the future with certain programs. Obviously Florida, with their new coaching departure. Look, this is why he said it the way he did. And when we discussed this obviously pre-show throughout the week and yesterday, some of the response we saw, like, oh, well, he didn't say no. So, I mean, but it's okay. That was like you said, that was an Elko response. He said he's a little peeved, right? Because he's entrenched in the season. They are completely focused on LSU. They just came off of a dramatic win on the road that really saved their college football playoff season, right? Because if they would have lost that game, which we're going to get to soon, it'd be a murky road ahead, because then we're talking you can't afford any more losses pretty much because of the teams that are ahead. But at the same time, the way they won, the way the team responded, the way Elko coached in that game, that does not seem like a man that has one foot out the door. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's very asinine. And I think that for some of the Aggie fans that maybe have a little touch of BAS or something like that, look, guys, this isn't Jimbo Fisher. This is not the same situation. And if you have heard Elko speak over the past 2 years at the helm, this is his type of response. This is what he's going to give you, basically saying, I don't want to hear about this again. Let's just focus on the season, because, I love that he basically said, and I saw some say, well, nobody wanted you fired. Well, you're not paying attention to social media enough, because there are parts of this fan base that even after the opener and after the defense didn't do very well in the first half against UTSA, and there was some issues against Utah State. There was a small faction, not a large one, but a small one, that said, is Elko really the guy? I mean, this isn't great. Okay, so he knows, he sees everything.
It's just like, come on, guys. I think people need to start putting their brains together a little bit more. I mean, this is just calling out an overarching blanket statement. Just, guys, come on. Are your team. If you cheer for the Aggies, you are 7-0,
4-0 in the SEC.
You have reached, the third overall rank in the AP poll for the first time since the first 5 weeks of 1995. And come on, guys, like, is that not something that you could sit back and appreciate first?
I don't know. I think it's just the college football world we live in. It's just the instant gratification type of deal. They want a definite no. But I'm going to be honest again. Would you be okay with that? Because we've seen the past. Well, he said no, but it was his tone. He said no, but it was the way he said no. That you're never going to get anybody satisfied with an answer. So I think so. But again, waste brain space. That's him saying, stop thinking about it. Mm-hmm. Why? It's year 2, guys. It's year 2. And I will be honest with you. I think it was hilarious that you look at the whole coaching regime, right? Like, obviously, Kurt Cignetti, Indiana signing him to a deal that could come back to bite them.
Stellar job, by the way. I think he deserves it. So
yeah, no, excellent coach. I mean, you see Indiana, the basketball school, number 2 right now in the country, national championship.
Some would say they're a football school, Cameron.
Well, yeah, now they are. But best quarterback, I would say, NFL draft wise, in Fernando Mendoza. He's doing a hell of a job.
Yeah,
and my, what I've heard and what I believe personally is that Penn State offered him that job. They went pretty quickly to sign him, get him done, because he was the rising star in coaching right now, and all these other programs, who's Florida right now, obviously Penn State, look at Indiana and go, well, they're not really a football school, so we can probably take the coach. And so Indiana went, hold on, we're going to lock you down forever, pretty much. because you and I, who both follow recruiting, obviously professionally, Indiana's heating up. They're in with a lot of even A&M recruits right now. So they're one of those schools who's going to be, I think, pretty consistent from now on. But again, it's year 2 for Mike Elko. Okay, he finished 8-5 last season. If he would have finished 10-2 and they went to the playoffs last year, and then they're 7-1, yeah, right.
In year 1, by the way,
in year 1, then I would understand the heat under him. Though, okay, this guy's going to take it. But again, there were people last year in January. Trust me, I do this for a living. I look at I always look at both sides of the fan base, I look at the chat rooms, all the boards, all that kind of stuff. There was a lot of hate towards the direction, not hate towards Mike Elko, but the direction the program is going. But, when he started making those changes, the offseason, the transfer portal, guys coming back, and now the 7-0 start, that's where he was going, right? Saying, exactly. You guys want to be fired, now you want me hired. It's like there's a lot of truth to that. So, again, I'm not going to be here and go, he's not going anywhere. But come on, guys. Let's just live in reality. Move on. Focus on LSU.
Take a step back. Have some fun.
Yeah. So the last thing we're going to say, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on this because I think we'll both agree on it, is that during the Arkansas win, I think it was 14 minutes into I think it was like the 14-minute mark or a little less than that. In the second half of the game, A&M was leading.
Yes.
Yeah, by I think a touchdown still. I'd have to look. But Tyree Chappelle, the starting nickel, he dropped to the ground after the ball was placed on the ground before the next snap. And with the new SEC rules about feigning injuries, basically meaning like you're faking injuries to stop momentum for another team. It's unfair. It was happening a lot with the Ole Miss coach, Lane Kiffin, who maybe they should fine him a couple $1 million. Not going to happen, though, from last season. But a lot of coaches were doing this in fairness. It was not prohibited. So it was a strategic thing that anybody could do in a game, especially when you're playing a quarterback like Taylor Green, who's shredding you through the air and on the ground. Maybe you just want to stop momentum and get back on defense to recuperate. They said that there was a staff member. We didn't see it. I think even if you're on the sidelines, like I've been before, if you're on, watching for TV, you couldn't see this happen, but they said it was a staff member on A&M that went like this, and then Chappelle dropped to the floor. They have now fined, the SEC has fined because of the national rules executive. I forget the full title. $50,000. Mike Elko released. Yeah. Mike Elko released a statement basically saying, look, we understand these rules. We respect them. We weren't doing it. I mean, of course, he's going to deny it. That's fine. We weren't, blah, 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 blah. This is not who we are. We don't teach our players to do this, which I firmly believe that's true. Yada, yada, yada. Move on. Pay the fine. A&M's got the money. Not a big deal, but a lot of commotion through social media, mainly because of the fact that everybody else was doing this last season. And I saw Stu Mandel, a couple others go, yeah, you're busted, A&M. And then we saw Arkansas. I can't do so laughing. Arkansas fans saying they should forfeit the victory. This is bull. I mean, guys, come on. They got fined $50,000.
I do think some of them were half joking. And
I don't know. I think some of them were really like, give us that win. Like, we would have won if that didn't happen. I'm like, really? Your defense was horrible. I don't think you would have won if that didn't. But, hey, be it all, things happen, maybe. I don't know. But give your opinion on this because I'm done talking about
it. I am like Mike Elko. I understand why the rules are in place. Now, whether or not he was told to go down or not, from what it looked like, whatever non-contact injury Tyreek Chappelle had, I don't know. I'm not privy to any information.
We're never going to see it.
We have no idea.
Saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. If anything does happen or injuries lurk, who knows?
Yeah.
But
I've seen it before, right? Guys cramp up. There's situations when you're playing football, and especially when you're in certain environments that are, more humid. Obviously, sometimes even when you're playing in the cold and your muscles are twitching. And I mean, I've had muscle cramps, which are horrific. They are super painful, especially when you get in the calf or you get in the bicep. And all you can do really is almost punch that thing out or rub it out or massage it out. And sometimes you'll be standing, you'll be fine, and then you drop to the floor. So, look, the SEC can say what they want. They're going to be the top dog here and make the ruling, and you just have to pay the fine and move on. But if I'm A&M and if I am a player that is seriously injured, this sucks, right? Because now they're just going to fine everybody. And the fact is that, Elko is going to get fined over $100,000 and get suspended, or Texas A&M is going to get fined $100,000, and Mike Elko is going to get suspended for the following game if this happens again. And I'm going to be honest, like,
is it for the second time or the third time that he gets suspended?
I think it's the second time. I'd have to look back. I did the update today, but I believe it's. I mean, I can look, but I believe it's the second time because it's. And because they're sending a message, right? So they're sending a message to the rest of the league because they've seen this happen a lot. And let's see. Further violations will result in a suspension for the next game. So if it does happen a second time. So, and if it happens, if it's egregious, right? If it looks egregious, if it looks just like walk, drop. Now, if it's after the play and you are down and you are in pain, if they take away your timeout and fighting for that, then we have a real problem. Then what are injured guys supposed to do? Writhe in pain and make their way to the sidelines and then jump?
It's just not happening.
It's not. So they have to fix this, and we will see. This is the first time it's really happened this season, I guess, because I haven't seen a lot of it.
I don't think it might happen again, not with A&M, but I think we'll see other things happen. In terms of the scale of this, because they have been trying to implement this rule more and more.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. I think this was also a situation where this was a very high-scoring game. It was back and forth. Arkansas was on the verge of even taking the lead at one point. It was, and it was very tumultuous, and the flags were flying a lot. And we don't even have to get into the Chase Besantis flag, which
egregious.
The dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to be honest. If you are teaching football and you are teaching a kid how not to hold, that's the tape you show. But I think literally, I don't want to be conspiracy theorist, but it's almost like the refs were like, you know what? I still want to see an exciting ending. I'm not going to allow that Marcel Reed run because that ends the game. So sorry, flag holding. Yeah.
Yeah. If people don't know what we're talking about, Marcel Reed had a 57-yard keeper touchdown run that was wiped out by a ghostly penalty, a little bit of a push by Chase Besantis on that run, which would have put A&M up over 50 points, the 50-point mark.
52 to 35 at that point, which game would have completely been over